We all know that the 2024 NBA draft was not exactly the best class we've ever seen. There's some Zach Edey and Jalen Wells things happening in Memphis. Alex Sarr's actually improved a little bit lately in Washington. Rishi Shea's had some interesting moments in Atlanta. There's a bunch of other guys that are at least kind of interesting. But there's a player emerging right now in Miami that some places actually already is the favorite to win the Rookie of the Year award. Kel'el Ware in Miami is doing some very unique things and creates an extremely exciting future for himself in Miami. Now, it's funny because, of course, a lot of the attention right now on the Heat surrounds Jimmy Butler and where he's going to go, what the trade situation is going to be. He keeps getting suspended from the team. And so there's a lot of moving pieces with the Heat. They're trying to figure out if Jimmy's going to play on a given night, if Jimmy's going to be with the team on a given night. But if you pay attention to the actual basketball of this, Kel'el Ware is an extremely interesting prospect and an important one for the future of the Heat. He's had some moments before, whether it be before the season, preseason, whatever the case may be, but he's actually finally getting some run with the real team and doing things with it. Really, the only reason we haven't seen more from him so far this season is just because Eric Spoelstra hasn't played him. He's wanted to play Jovic. He's wanted to play Haywood Highsmith alongside Bam Adebayo, and even in the backup 5 minutes behind Bam, he hasn't really played Ware that much. But over the last couple of games, Spo's been looking for a spark, and that player has been Kel'el Ware, specifically playing alongside Bam Adebayo. Heat fans know this, other people know this as well. Bam's kind of been miscast as a full-time 5 and the full-time only big on the floor for a couple of years now. Bam's really good. He's improved offensively at times. He's having a down season offensively this year, but there have definitely been times in the past where he's had a little bit of that Anthony Davis vibe where it's like, okay, I see that you can do things offensively at the 5, but night to night, defensively, it's kind of an issue with some matchups because the league is getting bigger. When you're trying to play against Embiid or in the Western Conference, you're trying to play against Jokic, and Bam's skill set at times looks better suited to play alongside of a skilled spacing big that they can both kind of be the 4 and the 5 at the same time, and that is what Kel'el Ware has been. He can block shots, he can protect the rim. Importantly, he can shoot, and he shoots a lot of threes. It's not just being efficient for him. The volume is also there from 3 for Kel'el Ware, and even though it's obviously a small sample size, it's only the last couple of weeks really that Spo's been playing him, it's very exciting to see this new combination where they're taking Haywood Highsmith out, they're putting Ware in the starting lineup, and alongside a player in Tyler Hero that's having a career season, has been one of the more overlooked players in the entire league. The Heat start to make a lot more sense without Jimmy Butler on the team when you've got Duncan Robinson running around off screens, you've got the 2 bigs playing in the front court, you've got Terry Rozier, you've got Tyler Hero, and then whatever they potentially get in a Jimmy Butler trade or potentially have gotten in a Jimmy Butler trade by the time this video goes out, all of a sudden the future looks pretty interesting in Miami. Now, where it still is obviously in need of polishing, there's still plenty of things defensively from a spacing perspective, and certainly the Heat fans don't need a reminder of that when it comes to, oh, this guy blocks shots, he's a good defender. No, they kind of went through that with the Hassan Whiteside thing where just because you block shots doesn't mean you're a good defender, and Ware certainly still has a lot to learn defensively, and if I had to guess, I'd say that's why he wasn't getting as many minutes earlier on in the season. But as he continues to grow, I see a player that can be not only a high impact player into the future for Miami, but maybe win the Rookie of the Year this year. It's not all that competitive of a race. Zach Edey was someone that a lot of people thought was going to have a really good chance. He's still pretty high up there in the odds, but he just doesn't really put up numbers. He doesn't score that much, and he's kind of a token starter for Memphis right now. A good Memphis team, but still, there's some other guys like Jalen Wells as well in Memphis, but honestly, Kel'el Ware could win the Rookie of the Year award despite not really playing that much in the beginning of the season. It's clear that he's very highly thought of around the league, and I'm curious to see where exactly his development goes from here. Obviously, the three-point shooting needs to become more consistent. If he's going to play alongside Bam, he has to be able to shoot threes consistently. That is just a necessity at this point, playing alongside Bam. They've tried to get Bam to shoot more threes, whether it be from the corners, whether it be from the top of the key, and it just hasn't happened for him this year, and I think that's also part of the reason for his offensive regression, because his confidence is just lower, because his shots aren't going in. A lot of those weird little mid-range jumpers that Bam would take all the time, he's not taking them or making them nearly as much this year because he's been trying to take more threes, and so Ware has to be able to shoot if he's going to do this 2-big lineup alongside of Bam. But honestly, if he does that, he's a really good complementary piece alongside of Bam, because there's a vertical spacing element to him as well, where Bam's obviously a very good athlete laterally with his quickness and obviously has some kind of vertical element to him, but Ware's just different. He's got longer arms, he's springier, there at the rim. He's a better lob threat. Having a lob threat has really unlocked some things for Miami, especially with where, cutting off the baseline, cutting in from the 3-point line, if he's not really feeling a jump shot on the particular night. There's a lot of really interesting things that Miami can do with him offensively with him in the lineup. And as I mentioned earlier, it's really important for the future of the Heat as well, because typically they get value out of their first round picks. Bam is a mid-lottery guy. Tyler Herro is a mid-lottery guy. Jaquez is a later first round pick. Ware is a mid-lottery or later first round pick kind of guy. These are the kinds of players that Miami picks and they develop. And for the first part of the year, it didn't seem like Ware was going to be that guy. And now all of a sudden they're actually giving me a chance to develop. And if they get something in exchange for Jimmy Butler in the form of future draft picks or an interesting young player, you can still kind of see the vision for Miami moving forward, where Herro's having a really good year. You've got some other perimeter scorers. You've got some young talent in Ware. And then you know that you still have kind of this Bam timeline as well, where maybe you can move him down the road. He's still going to be a valuable piece, even if his offensive slump continues this season for Miami and moving forward. And you've got multiple kind of avenues you can go down. And honestly, a lot of that gets unlocked because of what Kel'el Ware has been doing. Now, this could just be a flash in the pan. This could be nothing. We could be looking at this a year from now and wondering why he's not playing again, because he's just not good enough defensively. He's still trying to figure some things out at the NBA level. But me personally, I'm a fan. It's really difficult to find someone with his combination of athleticism, size, and skill, specifically the three-point shooting thing. If he was just another, rim rolling, rim protecting big with good athleticism, great athleticism, and good length, that would be one thing. But the three-point shooting is a whole nother thing. And it's not just, he's Mo Bamba, he occasionally makes a three. The jumper looks good to me too. The mechanics look good. He looks comfortable taking it. It takes a little bit too long. He's going to have to speed up the release if he wants to be a real, true, maybe a Brook Lopez style threat, although that's obviously a very high bar. But other than that, I think the jumper looks good, and I think it's going to be a real thing for him as he continues to develop. And it's just kind of funny at this point that he's just showing up and could actually win the Rookie of the Year. I think right now a lot of people probably have Alex Sarr pretty high. Steph Castle is someone that's way up there that I've talked about before on other channels. That I'm a Steph Castle guy. I really like him. Wells has been awesome for Memphis. Missy's been awesome for New Orleans. I already mentioned Edie. Bub Carrington is kind of decent in Washington. You've got Da Silva and Orlando getting more opportunities because of their injuries. Ryan Dunn's been a nice complimentary player in Phoenix. There's actually a lot of interesting rookies in this class, but if you're looking for upside, you're looking for potential, you're looking for a guy that might be an all-star a couple years down the road, I think Alex Sarr certainly is in that conversation. I think Kel'el Ware is genuinely in that conversation. This is an organization that has a history of developing players' skill sets and developing them into well-rounded basketball players, and that's the kind of environment that Kel'el Ware needs. And I'll be honest, there's a lot of people that didn't really like the selection at the time. They weren't big on him as a prospect. They didn't understand the fit there in Miami because they already had Bam. But if the long-term vision is to play those two guys together, and he can space the floor and he can create a little bit more, you can use Bam as an offensive hub a little bit more with spacing around him without giving up the defense, and actually improve defensively because you've got more size out there, and Bam doesn't have to be the only rim protector. Bam has a little bit of a really good defender, not an outstanding rim protector kind of thing going on, because he's just a little bit undersized to be playing the 5 all the time. And to have two different options at the 5 as rim protectors, in addition to different skill sets where Bam can be a good passer, Ware can be a good floor spacer, a lob threat as well. This is obviously a lot of projection for what he's going to be on down the road, but I'm excited. I'm a fan, and I honestly would not be surprised. It's the crazy thing to say. I would not be surprised if your Rookie of the Year from this season is Kel'el Ware, and that's crazy because he wasn't really even playing that much up until recently.